Hello everyone and welcome to episode 10 of Pazzo Gaming. Today we're going to run through the basic big reactors reactor. We're going to build a 7x7 reactor, which is there's one of two modes you can build. You can build an energy creation one or an RF creating one, or you can have one that creates steam, essentially, which you can then drive other machines, such as a turbine, which will generate your energy. For this one, we're going to do the basic one, which is just your generating RF power from yellorium. Specifically yellorium ingots. So and we're going to build it within our building here that we built in our last episode, which was part of our the BC Builders, the filler. We built this building basically automatically just by placing the blocks and laying out a grid and everything else. So now that we've kind of laid out some lighting inside and everything else, we're going to start building the reactor. So the very first thing you're going to need is the reactor casing. And the reactor casing consists of 4 iron ingots, 4 graphite bars, and 1 yellorium ingot. And that will create 4 reactor casings. So these casings, what we're going to do is we're going to frame out our reactor area, and we're going to do a 7x7 grid, and that will be the basis for our reactor. So we're just going to go here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to lay it out down here, and we're just going to fill the bottom of our reactor. Oops. Let's see here. So once you have your foundation of your 7x7 grid, then you want to go up, and we're going to do 7 up as well. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do the other side. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. And then we're just going to frame that out the rest of the way. Perfect. Just do the same thing on this side. Put the last 2 in. Perfect. So now that we got our frame built for our reactor, 7x7 grid using the casing, we have the bottom solid. It can also be made of the reactor glass, which is one of the items we'll look at here next. So the reactor glass is made by putting 1 casing and then 2 glass just around it, and that will make you 1 reactor glass. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and close off probably the back side of this and the right side. Let's see here. So we've got the back side closed off, and we're going to do the left or the right side, I guess will be. And now we're going to go get our controller. So the minimum requirements for any reactor is having 1 controller, 1 power tap, and it would be 1 access port, which would put in your yellorium into your thing. So our next item is going to be the controller, which consists of 4 reactor casings, 2 yellorium ingots, 1 diamond, and 1 redstone. And that gives you your controller. We got 1 made down here. And we're just going to drop that right in the middle. And what we're going to do now is just frame off the front with the rest of the glass. Perfect. And now we're going to do a power tap just in the bottom right. The power tap is going to be your output of the power coming from the reactor, and it's made by having 4 reactor casings along with 4 redstone laid out. And beside that, we're going to put an access port. We're going to put at the top. There's our access port, and our access port is 4 reactor casings, one chest, and one piston. And this is going to allow for items to be taken in and out of our reactor. So we're going to put one, let's put it in the top corner for each of these. We're going to change this one to an output. So the blue is output and the yellow is input, and you can see the direction of the arrows. And this will be putting yellorium or plutonium inside and taking out cyanide. And that's your export waste from the reactor. So now that we have that, we're going to put one more thing beside it. We're just going to put the Redneck, the Redneck port, which we're going to use to control the power for the reactor, or the power switch, whether it turns off or on automatically based on the bank of our capacitor size. So we're going to have some capacitors right beside it that the reactor is going to be charging up. Once the level in the reactors, let's say, drops below 20%, it will turn the reactor back on. Once the capacitors are filled up to, let's say, 75%, it will turn the reactor off. So it'll make it very efficient use of yellorium rather than wasting any. So then we're just going to close this off, and we're going to use a power meter for that. So now that we have this basically framed out, we have all the sides except for the top closed in, we're going to go put in our reactor rods. So these rods are made by having 6 iron ingots around the outside, 2 graphite bars, one at the top and one at the bottom, and 1 yellorium ingot. And we're going to go and place these in the middle. We're going to use kind of a spread out little fashion here. Let's do... Alright, so let's spread it out like that. We're going to bring them right to the top. Perfect. So now we got our yellorium rods, which are fuel cell rods. And we have our reactor frame build, we got a controller, we got our power tap, which is our output for power, we got our Redneck port, which is we're going to control basically the state of the reactor, whether it's on or off. Our 2 access ports, one for putting yellorium in and one for taking the waste product out, which is cyanide. Now we only need to add, a reactor control rod at the top of each of the rods. So that's made by having 4 reactor casings around the outside, 3 graphite bars, 1 redstone, and 1 yellorium. And we're going to put one of those on each of the rods, just like so. And now we're going to have to fill it in with something. So you can see how the reactor is kind of open and airy around it. So this is where there's probably about 18 different items, and what we're going to do is we'll put a link in the description of the video that show the different types of materials you can put around these rods in this void area where we're standing right now. And this basically increases the efficiency of the reactor, it lowers the cooling temperature, it changes a whole bunch of different characteristics based on the type of liquid. For this example, we're going to actually use gold blocks. Gold is a fairly simple one to find. You can get it in a decent amount, you can find it fairly quickly. So we're going to use it for this example, but there are many things like liquids you can put in other solids, there's endurium you can use, there's a whole bunch of items. So we're just going to go through and we're going to fill all the gaps with gold. And this is basically going to be our insulator and our conductor for increasing the efficiency of the reactor. And the big thing with this is you want to make sure you do get all the little blocks filled up, which can take a little bit of time, so we're just going to fly through it here as fast as we can. Perfect. I'm just going to seal off the back here. Let's see, where do we go? got the last two right there. Perfect. So now we have it all closed in with our gold, as we can see from the outside. We now have our gold around our rods and everything. And now we're just going to place the remaining reactor glass that we have just around the top to seal it off. This guy, and we'll place it here. You can see as soon as we switched it over, what it did is it changed into the full multi-block structure. And again, if you remove my one, you notice the blocks will change. So we're just going to put it back because we're ready to go. And now we can right-click on our controller and we actually get the menu for everything. So this is kind of the heart of the reactor control. So we got our core temperatures that are going on. We have how much RF per tick is actually coming out of the system, what the millibuckets per tick, which is the fuel that it's using, or fuel burn-up rate. And then we have our fuel reactivity, which currently right now is very low. It's going to go up to probably about 400 is where we're going to average out. You can get some that are slightly higher, slightly lower. It all depends on, like I said, the type of gold you put, the type of fuel you're using, whether you're using plutonium or yellowite. And for this one, we're just going to use yellowite, and then we'll build, in a later video, we'll build the cyanide reprocessor, which turns the waste product into fuel that you can use again. So then you can have not a perpetual system, but it does help reuse all the waste and kind of refines it, I guess we'll say. So let's put our, we're going to get a chest. I'm just going to grab one here. And we're going to put a chest just here in the middle. And what this is going to hold is it's going to hold the yellorium that's going to go into the reactor, and it's also going to hold the waste products coming out. So I'm going to grab an item conduit, and we're going to put these in like so. So one there, one there. And we're going to have this one be inserting. This one's going to be exporting from the chest, but we're going to put in a filter, and we're going to have it only take out yellorium from the thing. So we're going to grab yellorium. So we put up our yellorium. I'll right click on this. We're going to place in one sample of the item we want it only to take out. So it's only going to take yellorium out, and it's going to extract it over the green one and put it into this side. We're going to do the inverse on the other side. We're just going to have it take whatever the waste product is, and we're going to have it extract it from there, and we're going to have it insert it into the chest. So then everything's going to go back into the chest for all the waste. But it's only going to take the yellorium out and put it in there. So we can put this actually in there right now, and we'll see that it's starting to fill up the reactor. And so as we're sitting here, we see the reactor filling up with all the ingots of yellorium. So next thing we want to do is we want to look at our power monitor. Power monitor basically is going to be a device that we're going to put right here, and it allows us to monitor capacitors and how much power is coming out, and output a redstone or a rednet signal or a redstone signal, either one, based on a condition. So in this case, the condition is going to be, we want it to run when the signal is less than, let's say, let's go with 50%, but we want it to stop at 75. And how we're going to do this is we're going to put our energy connector here, which is going to take the power out. And we're going to bring this over, and I think we're going to go get some capacitors. I think I put some in the chest over here. And we're going to build a little capacitor bank for this example. So we're going to go up. Disconnect that. Let's go up one more. Perfect. So now we got our 3 capacitor high little bank, holds 75 million RF. We have this set up so that it will turn on when it's less than, let's go less than 10. We'll change this later. I'm just going to keep it low for right now, and we'll have it turn off at 15%. So that's going to put out a signal. Now, all we have to do, the only last thing we have, is actually to connect the Redneck Cable, which for right now the reactor is off. I'm going to go put this piece here, and what this is going to do, once we put the toggle in, so we notice the white cable is connected right now. If I drag the toggle reactor into the white area, and I want it to be activated on the signal that's put out, and go commit, this will actually turn the reactor on here in a sec. So now our reactor is actually on, and it's putting out, let's see what it levels off here at. It'll probably be around 10 or 11,000 RF per tick. And we can see that's coming fully into our system. And at the very top, you can view the RF per tick coming in to the capacitor. You can also, just by clicking here, we can actually see it just by mousing over here on the left. So what this is going to do is it's going to fill the reactor, as we put here, to 15%, and then it's going to turn the signal off. So once it hits 15%, the reactor here will automatically turn off and stop consuming fuel. And then when it drops below 10% again, it will again turn back on. So here, while we're letting this fill up, that covers most things for this example. As we can see, we start to have some waste product coming out, which is the cyanide ingots. So that's coming out of the export port automatically and being put back into the chest. And we can view, while the thing is running, how much waste product is in there. And right now there's about a half an ingot left, which is the millibucket. So 1 ingot equals 1,000 millibuckets. And we can also tell from here that the reactor has turned itself back off thanks to our power meter, because our capacitors have hit 15%. And if we simply increase this again, we can increase this to, let's go 25%, and we're going to have it turn off at 50. This most likely should turn the reactor back on automatically, and again, it will turn off at 50%. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. This shows how to make a very basic reactor that puts out a fair decent amount of power, about, like I said, 10, 11,000 RF per tick right now we have going out. In the next video, we're going to go through the cyanide reprocessing, which is taking the waste product from this and turning it back into plutonium, which will increase your efficiencies further and lower your dependence on yellorium. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.